everybody. Welcome into the Flippin' Hippos YouTube channel. I'm Star, and with me today is my friend Brian.
Howdy.
Howdy, he says. Brian lives in Texas. Did you see your Instagram story?
I did not. No.
I put Beyonce's new song. This ain't Texas. Ain't no hold 'em.
I tell you what, the music you had before coming into the show, that was pretty wild.
Oh, thank you. I thought you'd appreciate the Texas song.
I wish I'd seen it. Sorry. I don't ever get on Instagram, actually. I should.
No, I always talk to you through Facebook. So while we wait for some folks to come in, I'm going to just do some introductions. If you're watching the replay, you'll get to hear it too. Y'all know who I am. No one cares. But this is Brian. It's my friend Brian. I met him through the List Perfectly community, actually, which is a really great community of resellers, I have to say. It's actually my favorite, and my second favorite is the community on Instagram. No, I should say that my first is my Facebook group. Love you guys. But it's a really great group. That's where I met Brian, and then I met you in person and your wife at camp. And we just had a blast. We just had so much fun. Brian is really smart. You guys are going to learn that. He knows a lot about a lot, and he's very savvy. And, oh, I did tell you this before we came on, but I'm going to preface the show this time. So if you guys watched me on with Rachel and you heard that I had like a Southern accent with her, it is an emulation that happens to me. My mom's family's all from Missouri, and my dad's family is mostly from North Carolina, and some are from Missouri, and oh, there's another state, but they're all Southern. My dad's dad was actually a Southern Baptist preacher, and
wow,
yes, both sets of grandparents moved to Arizona, so they were transplants. And when my parents met, that was something they had in common. They were both Southern, and that's part of their meet cute, how my parents met. So I was raised in Arizona by a family that spoke just like Rachel and Brian. And I've been in PA for 20 years and kind of lost the act. I had lived in North Carolina for a while too. But whenever I get around Southern people or I get real excited, my accent does come out because I grew up in a household where we used washcloths and ate fried taters.
I don't even feel like I have a Southern accent, but,
oh, you do.
But people tell me I do. Yeah. And actually I moved actually from, I was born in Tennessee, but raised in Texas, East Texas. But in 10th grade, I had to move to upper state New York. And they used to call me Tex, and not affectionately.
Oh. And,
I didn't start ice skating before I walked, so I couldn't play sports up there, and of course I was kind of small too. So, but yeah, I mean, it didn't hurt with some of the girls, I got to tell you, up there in upstate New York, but yeah, I got back to Texas as quickly as I could after about 3 years when I graduated. And so
I like the North. I like the seasons, but
yeah, I do too.
I was just talking. Well, actually, yesterday was the eBay spring seller check-in, and I had a networking room for my local eBay meetup group. And my friend Karen that lives here was in there with me, and we were talking to people about Pittsburgh is different than the rest of Pennsylvania. It's really hard to explain, but the rest of Pennsylvania is like up north. But here we are Pittsburgh itself is very small. Everything else is just like the suburbs and all the little towns around. And it's very small town mindset. Like people here are really nice. They're just, Pittsburgh is different. If y'all don't know what I'm talking about and you've never been here, it's like big city, small town mindset. And so living in Pittsburgh is not like living up north. People here are Midwestern kind of, I guess.
What about Philly?
Philly's very
East Coast-ish.
I'm trying to be nice. I mean, I've lived out on that side. I lived south of Philly near Lancaster, York area. They're different. People in the south are slow pace, right?
I have an experience with that. I don't personally, actually. What it was is my son he went away to school and had a good time. Didn't really graduate, and then finally decided, like we all do, he finally decided what he wanted to do when he grew up. Actually, there's a joke. Paula Poundstone. Have you ever heard of her?
Mm-hmm.
She's got this great joke that I've always used throughout my career. She'd say, do you know why adults always ask little kids what they want to do when they grow up? It's because they're looking for ideas. So I thought it was so good. I would always use that when I was managing people in corporate life. And because I always tell them, hey, it's about time for you to decide what you want to do for the rest of your life. But my son came back and he decided that he was going to be an airline pilot.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, hey, that's a great idea. There's a shortage of those. Let's do that. And we had some money left over from his education that he didn't spend, so we could use that to get him into school to fly. And also because I knew that you got to get a certain number of hours before you can become a pilot. I took some money that I had reserved for retirement and bought him a plane. And but we bought it in the Philly area. And so we had to get a CFI, which is called a certified flight instructor, to go with him. And I flew both of them up there. And I'm trying to save money. So I find a hotel there. I don't know anything about Philadelphia. And so they go to it the night before they go to pick up the plane. And they call me and said, Dad, we can't stay here. This is not safe. And I'm like, okay, just go wherever you need to go that's safe, and then that I'll pay for it, whatever. And so then
it's a nice city to visit.
Yeah,
I wouldn't live there.
Well,
they do have pretty bad crime areas, and I would think more so than here. But I think every place you go has bad parts of town.
Yeah,
and good parts of town. Period. I mean,
on the other side of the tracks is what they always say, right?
Yeah, or it's always near downtown where it's bad, right?
In Cincinnati, it's east and west. In most towns, it's north and south, and
the West Side Story. We have a question here that I think only I can answer, because your answer is probably going to be no.
Not me.
So no. When we first started, Keith and I did go to the Benz until we had enough profits and capital to roll back in that we could stop going to the Benz. Tony, I don't know how familiar you are with me or my channel. Both Keith and I have germ issues and OCD issues and anxiety issues, and the Benz are not a good place for us. But I don't discourage other people from going, because it's a really cheap way to get a lot of inventory fast to build up some capital in your business.
Oh, I thought you said German issues.
We're germaphobes.
Germ issues. And I've never been to the Benz. I don't even know where a Benz is, because what I sell is mostly used music equipment. Although I'll sell everything. I just recently took down some laxative that I'd been selling because it was it expired, and so you can't sell that. And then of course I also had been selling. I've got 800 Beanie Babies that sell occasionally, so I just keep them up there. I already spent the time listing them, so why not?
I have some Beanie Babies up too, but that's because I thought I'd buy a plush lot from Goodwill, and they sent me all Beanie Babies. And what's so funny is because Brian and I were in this listing party together, and I would hold one up and he would know its name. He knows Beanie Babies better than the Plushie Queen, because you got 800 of them. But I didn't make them a priority. I just set them aside, and one Saturday I was up here watching a movie, and I'm like, I'll get them up. They sell. They shouldn't be a priority for you, though. But
no. If
you ever get them, don't seek them out on purpose, but if you ever get them, don't be afraid to list them. They do sell. And you can lock them up and stuff.
My wife actually she's thought it was such a stupid idea. And actually over the years, it's turned into a good idea, but maybe at the time it wasn't, because I live in Dallas, Fort Worth, and this was in Shreveport, which is about 3 or 4 hours east. And I saw it on Facebook where I get all my inventory. And it said this guy had, like 2,000 or something stuffed animals, Beanie Babies and other stuffed animals. And he only wanted $800. So I sent him a message and said, I'll give you 500. Would you take it? And he said, yeah, if you'll come get it. And so I loaded up the truck, in a trailer and went over there and picked them all up. And actually I sold a lot to where I could get my money back right away.
Well, I'm trying to math how much. That's 25 cents a plush. I would have done it.
Yeah. But over the years, I finally got all of them listed, and they sell every once in a while. But again, it's not something you'd want to prioritize, like you said.
All right. So let's talk about what you used to do before you were a reseller and your story of how you became a reseller.
All right. Well, in high school and in college, I played in bands. I was lead singer. Yeah. Well, no, not that kind of band. But I played in bands. I was the lead singer, and I'd play guitar, and now I play bass more than anything. But I was never going to make a career of it. So after college, I started playing in little bands that we just play on Saturday, maybe one night during the week. But I always loved to play with different things, and so I would go on to whatever website or whatever and buy equipment,
mm-hmm.
and I would play with it for a little while, and then I'd resell it. And so that's how I got into the music flipping business, because I started making more money flipping music equipment than I was playing in bands. I was having more fun, making more money. So that's how I got my concentration in music. But when I was in college, I had joined a financial services firm, and that's what I did for 25 years. But in the middle of that, I went to SMU for my MBA, and I had to pick something. And so I chose entrepreneurship. And at the end of that, it was 3.5 years on nights and weekends, and my financial services company was paying for it. So, but I was, like I said, majoring in entrepreneurship.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to start my own business. And so I looked in franchise magazines, and I found one that was up in Michigan called Toy Traders, I think. And so I actually, after I finished my schooling, I flew up there for a week and worked in the shop.
Yeah.
And after a week, I realized they're selling a franchise, but they have nothing worth me paying them any money for. I'd learned everything just in that week. It really wasn't that hard. And so I just came home and I quit my corporate life and went to work in my own retail location called Toys from the Attic. And it was a used toy store based on buying, toys. Kids get way too many toys. We give them, spoil them crazy. And some of them they don't even play with. They'll play with the boxes more than they'll play with the toys.
Mm-hmm.
And so I figured that people could bring me toys. I'd pay them garage sale prices, and then I would sell them for half to 65% of what I bought. I mean, what they originally were. And I was selling pretty well. However, my business was based on me stopping garage selling and just having people bring stuff to me, like toys. What's the name of that? There's some resale shops that are Once Upon a Child, something like that. But I had made a flaw in my business plan where I had said, I think that people who make 100,000 in their in their whole household and less could really save a lot of money, buying toys from me. And so I put myself in a neighborhood that was like that. However, those people, and by and large, I'm not trying to insult anybody, but value their money more than their time. And I found that, and this is why Once Upon a Child is usually in affluent neighborhoods where they value their time more than their money. And so instead of having a garage sale, they'd just bring it down to the Once Upon a Child and give away, all their stuff and sell it to them, versus spending all weekend in a hot garage sale here in Texas. And so I started my own toy store doing that, but nobody was bringing me anything, or at least it wasn't a lot. And of the people, half the people that were bringing me stuff were bringing me collectibles, and I like collectibles, and I was making money with collectibles, but I wasn't passionate about that. And about that time, 98, I started selling on eBay from the store. And I realized quickly, why am I spending so much money per month in rent when I could do the same thing and be in corporate life? And so about the year 2000, I closed the store. I went back to corporate life. And for the next 25 years, I was working 2 full-time jobs. One selling in the evenings and on weekends on eBay, and one selling or going to corporate life and earning a living there. And so that's over those years, that's how I got my experience selling things. And I branched out from toys and used toys into more music gear. That's my concentration. But if I see an opportunity to buy something and I'm going to double my money, I'm going to do it no matter what it is, as long as I can ship it.
Okay. So do you aim to double your money always?
At least, yeah. Yeah.
I 10 times my money typically.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, there's one thing I've always told people, it takes just as much time to list a $3 item as it does a $300 item. And I mean, well, within reason, but, and so even though you're tripling your money on a $3 item, that's only $9, whereas $300, if you're making twice your money, that's $300 profit right there for one transaction.
Yeah, I agree. It's just a different business model.
Yeah. And that's where your average sales price. I try to keep my average sales price, not average sales price, but yeah, I guess that's what it is, at about $75 to $100. I think that brings in more money for me. It works for me.
Yeah. It's just a different business model. What works for me is to order 100 items for $1 a piece, straight delivered to my door, and then just sit here and list, because I have a disability and I don't like to leave the house. I don't want to end up on Dateline today in the Salvation Army.
So that's why you source from the locations that you source, because you don't like to go out. Yeah,
I don't. But both Keith and I have like social anxiety, and his is worse than mine. I mean, I go to events clearly, and I function around people, but we don't like to thrift. We don't like to leave the house. I mean, so works for us. And we're really fast at listing. That's why I kind of made that face, but not everyone is. And we always weren't. I mean, it used to take me, gosh darn, like 30 minutes to do like 2 pairs of jeans. And now in 45 minutes, I can do almost 100.
Whoa, man, I couldn't do that.
Flip them out. And we don't comp anything anymore. You just get to where you're comfortable.
Yeah.
And, I teach people you should get out of your comfort zone once in a while, but not to the point where you're affecting your physical or mental health. So if you really aren't someone that wants to order wholesale, or you aren't someone who likes to go to flea markets, don't force yourself to do that. But try, like I'm doing jewelry now. That's something I can order wholesale, but it's me learning something new, venturing out of the plush. So you do mostly records?
No, I did
you had
records.
So many records, though.
I did. Well, I did, but I got rid of them. because what it was is I saw this record collection for sale, and they were, I mean, it was $250 for like 1,000+ albums, and actually it turned out to be maybe almost double that. But when I got there, I knew there were some gems in there, but most of them were country and not good country, and mostly gospel stuff like that. So once I got through all of them, that took a lot of time. I realized that, yeah, and they were also dirty. It's like they'd been in a barn forever. So we would have to clean the sleeves off, clean the record itself. It was a lot of work. And again, that's where I go and say, how much time does it take to list one item versus a whole bunch? I mean, a big one. And so I got rid of those, and I probably won't do albums again. I mean, when I'm talking used music production gear, I'm talking about mixers and power amps and speakers, effects units, delays and reverbs and things like that. And that's all this kind of stuff that my bands would use to play out.
And you source on Facebook?
Yes, I do. And also I do a lot of consignment for churches. So a lot of times when I'm on Facebook, and I probably should do a Facebook, not a Facebook, a YouTube live or a podcast or something that shows me going on to Facebook, because I can source so easily off of Facebook, and you will learn once you have done it for a while, but I can always find something to buy and make good money on.
Mm-hmm.
It's getting the stuff sold, actually. I could buy more than I can sell, really. But what I'll do is I'll find somebody who's selling some kind of effects unit or some kind of music production gear, and then I'll look at their profile and see what else they're selling. And if they have, a whole bunch of music production gear, and also I'll look in the background, and if it's sitting on commercial carpet, then I'm thinking this is probably they're selling from a church.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I'll reach out to them and say, hey, I would be interested in buying all of the music equipment you have at one time, if you're willing to, come down on your price to where I can make a profit, because I'm a reseller.
Mm-hmm.
And or for churches, I'll also say, or I'll consign it for you. You get half, I get half, and get it out of your way, because that's what the churches are usually doing. They're saying, hey, I've got this closet full of old gear. We just did a renovation. We've got brand new stuff. We want to get rid of this.
Mm-hmm.
And they're in the Lord's business. They're not in the business of reselling for the top dollar. So they usually will consign with me. I take it off their hands. They get it out of the closet. They clean their closets out, and then I just start giving them money as I sell it.
So let me, I've had Samantha and the consignment chat, Libby and Molly girls on here. Yeah. So I have to ask you, do you do a contract or anything when you do the consignment?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. I've got a full contract. It's got legalese in it and everything. It basically, states my terms, 50-50 net of fees and expenses. I pay after 30 days. Because that's the return period, Mm-hmm. I mean, we're talking used gear here. So sometimes the church will give me something that, they haven't used in years. And so they don't know whether it works or not. I'll test it as best I can, but sometimes I miss a feature that somebody needs. And so it gets returned, and I take the return for 30 days. And then once it's past that period, I know the money's good, then I will pay it out to the church. And I love it. It really works for me. It works for the church. And I'll do it for people too. There was a video company in Dallas that the guy decided to retire. And so I've got a bunch of his stuff. Mm-hmm. He would do, I don't know, some kind of videos.
Yeah. So how do you ship? Whose service do you use to ship?
So I love Pirate Ship. I don't know, if I don't know if they have an affiliate program. I should probably
No,
look into that. They don't?
unfortunately,
Oh man.
no. There's no affiliate program, but what we used to do to make a little extra was link our cashback credit card.
Oh yeah.
Pirate Ship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do that too. Get that 2% back. But yeah, no, I use Pirate Ship because of their return policy. Because most of my large stuff ships UPS.
Okay.
And so if UPS ever damages it, they will handle it. You just basically say, hey, there was a damage claim that I need you to file a claim for me. You provide them with the information they need and they handle it. And it works out really, really well. Now, USPS, you have to file that yourself still.
Yeah. And they're more expensive on bigger items.
Yes. It's really smaller stuff. But, since they've gone to Ground Advantage, I've found that, gosh, a whole lot of my stuff is going USPS when it used to be all UPS. But
yeah,
go ahead.
I was gonna say a lot of our jeans that we used to always sell like in the flat rates for $7 whatever can now go ground for $5.
Yeah, that's a great savings.
Yeah, so you use UPS through Pirate Ship.
Yeah,
and then you just link your tracking number into eBay, I assume.
Well, they it automatically feeds over because
that's right. You can link. I never did, and I always forget that you can. You can link them together. And do you buy boxes? Do you recycle boxes? Like, how do you pack your stuff for shipping?
Well, I'm glad you asked because it's something that I would recommend to everybody is never, ever buy boxes. Mm-hmm. The only thing that I do buy are 22 by 10 by 4s. And the reason for that is because an effects unit is 19 inches long and can be 1 or 2 U is what it's called. It means it's about 1 inch thick or 2 inches thick. And that goes in racks. When a band is going by, they've got these racks that they transport. And so those effects units really go perfectly into that box. And it's really hard to come across boxes like that. However, for the rest of them, I get it off of Facebook Marketplace. When people are moving, some people try to sell them. I think they really realize quickly that it's going to be hard. They're not going to get very much money, so it's not worth it. So they just give them away. And I just, when I'm starting to get low, I'll just go and pick some up from somebody who just moved. And that always works out for me. Same thing with bubble wrap. I'll get that from people who are moving, packing paper. So I rarely buy much of anything for packing. And that's because I'm just frugal, very frugal.
I'm very frugal too.
But I do pack large things, which I know some people are a little bit squeamish about doing. And, you just got to follow the guidelines. Make sure that there's 2 inches of packing around everything, that your boxes are sturdy to support the weight, and make sure, yes, you're going to get used boxes, but if they've been used more than once, you probably are not going to want to use them. Right. You want it to look relatively unused. And I also have this guy, you'll find sources. So I get this, what's called semi-rigid foam. It's not the kind of foam that you'd sleep on, but it's also not rock hard. It's not styrofoam. And there's this guy who does Amazon returns on the other side of the Metroplex. And every once in a while when I need more, he just says, give me a call and I'll put aside 12 boxes of this semi-rigid foam. And that makes it really good to pack heavy things because it's about 2 inches thick. And I just surround whatever I'm shipping with those. And then, you also got to get used to and good at telescoping boxes and I
was going to ask you, Frankenstein a lot?
Oh, you better believe it.
Frankenbox.
Yep. And I use some of that strap sometimes, it's real strong nylon strap
Mhm.
with the metal pieces that you cinch down.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll do that and then tape over that but that's only when I had to really Frankenbox it.
So on average,
Yeah.
how long does it take you to package one big musical instrument or piece?
I'd say probably 15 to 20 minutes if it's a really large piece. And
Geez, it would take me like an hour.
well, I've gotten pretty good
I've
over it.
gotten pretty good at it.
Yeah. Yeah. But unfortunately, I mean, you've got to overpack, and I'm
Yes.
learning this because these shippers, they throw things. They do not treat
They're
them
playing
well.
football with our packages.
Actually, my son worked at both FedEx and UPS for a short period of time in one of their hubs, and he
Mhm.
said, yeah, they would just throw the boxes. And I'm
Mhm.
like, oh gosh, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it.
Yeah. Well, even the delivery people, maybe y'all are blessed more than we are, but the people that deliver our Amazon packages here, and I get an Amazon package, 1 or 2, almost every single day delivered, because again, we're reclusive and we don't like to leave the house, so we order a lot of stuff, and we also order a lot of stuff for our business as well. So there's always packages, but I swear they park across the street and hurl it at the door. And if it's raining, if it lands in a snowbank, they don't care. They do not notify you. And we don't have like a rain camera because we live in the woods, but
Yeah.
They don't care. I mean, I actually ordered a jewelry cleaner, and I kind of thought it was weird that it wasn't here yet. So I looked on my Amazon orders. I'm like, that was delivered 2 days ago. Well, we went outside to go. We do go out once a week to his grandparents for dinner. And here, the snowbank was like this high on me, and it was like in there, but it was shipped in its own box, the label slapped on it, and just sitting in the snow for 2 days. So I exchanged it to make sure it worked, but they don't care.
That reminds me one time I got this guy. He didn't complain about it. So that was good. But he did say, "Hey, got my package, very satisfied. But man, the box you used, LOL, LOMA or what, because I put it in a diapers box." The diaper box was pretty sturdy, but I reused a diaper box, and he thought that was pretty funny.
That's hilarious. So what platforms do you sell on?
So I do eBay, Mercari, Facebook Marketplace, and that's really about it. I have accounts on Poshmark and on Etsy. Oh, and reverb.com. I was thinking ones that are supported by List Perfectly. Reverb.com is a music site, and so it's great, right up my alley.
That's
But
cool.
it's not supported by List Perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
However,
Yeah,
I can do it as an alternative, or what do they call that? A site, so it can be in List Perfectly. So I'll know it's on Reverb.
mm-hmm.
It's just one of the other sites.
Yeah, you can create your own
Yeah.
Categories and things on List Perfectly in the catalog. We had one for Whatnot when we were selling on there.
It still gives you a link to it so that you can end it, but it just it doesn't support all the features. It doesn't auto list it. Yeah.
But I say yet because they've added even Vestiaire and they're growing all the time.
Yeah, but I'm not a clothing seller, so so I'm a little different from a lot of people.
Yes, exactly. But you do use List Perfectly for your needs.
I do. I highly recommend it.
9 out of 10 people that come on this show use List Perfectly. We always end up talking about List Perfectly, and I always end up doing some kind of demo. I had a few guests that used the other ones that we won't speak of, but most of my friends that I've hang out with or chat with online, I've met in this community.
I wish we were going to have a camp this summer, but my understanding is not this year.
No, and I'm actually glad because I don't know if you've heard, but I had made the decision going into the new year that I was not going to any reseller events this year. And any money that I would have spent on plane tickets, would have spent on hotel rooms, would have spent on event tickets is going into a separate account so that Keith and I can cross something really big off our bucket list. We've always wanted to see London. So.
Oh, really? Wow. I've never been to London.
Neither way. And
Have
they
you
have a
been to
Harry
Europe?
Potter museum and Doctor Who museum.
Have you been to Europe?
No.
So I have for 2 days.
No.
My father decided, God rest his soul, he's passed, but he decided he wanted to get, that car. And so he was going to buy a Mercedes.
Mm-hmm.
But he's a very frugal man, or he was a very frugal man. And so he found out that he could save 7% on the purchase price if he bought it in Germany. And so he had frequent flyer tickets. And so he took me and him went over to Stuttgart. And it was a program where you pick it up there, you drive it about a mile to some other location, and then they ship it over for you. And so he bought a Mercedes over there. And we got to go to the Porsche Museum. We got to go to the Mercedes-Benz Museum there in Stuttgart. And we got to eat some German food, but we were there for 2 days. And then we flew right back.
It's still an experience, right?
It was something to talk about. But
Yeah.
I would love to go back over there and spend some time, just really see what it's like. But
yeah, and Keith really wants to go, and he's more of a recluse than I am. And this is a trip he actually wants to go on. So I want to make it happen. And I thought, for the last 3 or 4 years, I'm going to 2, 3, sometimes 4 events a year. I could take a break for 1 year and put that money towards London.
Yeah.
It's a bucket list, man. And we don't live that long. Life is short. I got to do stuff. And like I said, because we're nerds, we want to see the Doctor Who museum. I always call it the Hugh Museum. Can't speak English. Doctor Who museum, the Harry Potter museum. And we watch a lot of shows and movies from the UK. So it would be neat to see those things in person. Like, hey, this was in Torchwood, or this was in Doctor Who, or whatever. So
you're going to go see any football?
No, I don't do the sport.
Oh, well, that, what is it? What's that show where the American coach went over and did soccer? You don't know. You didn't watch that. Okay. No. It's on Apple TV, I think, but now I can't remember.
I actually have Apple TV for free. We have T-Mobile, and you get Netflix. Hey, if you guys have T-Mobile and you don't know this, call them up and get your little code to sign in, because you get Netflix and Apple TV as part of your T-Mobile.
Yeah.
But then I locked myself out. And let me tell you, if you lock yourself out of Apple and you have all Android in your house, you're never getting back in.
Really?
Oh, it's harder than Fort Knox. But I did get to see, were you around when I was watching that Ryan Reynolds Christmas movie like 10 times a day?
I don't think so.
There was on Apple TV a Christmas movie called Spirited, and it was a modern day take on Scrooge.
Yeah, right.
And it had Ryan Reynolds and Will Ferrell, and it was a musical.
Okay.
And I was watching it every day in December.
Evidently you liked it a little bit.
A lot. It was fantastic. So we've determined where you sell, where you source, but what's your favorite platform to sell on?
Well,
follow up question after you tell me that, your favorite item to sell.
Well, eBay's the monster, right? I mean, for me, it's 95% of my sales. I think Reverb is the second. Mm-hmm. And I would love to sell more on Reverb, and I will continue. But with List Perfectly not supporting them, hint, List Perfectly, come on.
Did you put in your request?
I keep requesting, yes. But yeah, so it's a little bit more onerous because I take in List Perfectly, I take the pictures with my phone, and then I just go to my computer and fill out everything. So it's really, really easy for all the other sites. But for Reverb, then the pictures are in list perfectly, and I need to download them to put them into Reverb. And so I've asked for two things. One, just a way to quickly download from an existing listing so that you can use it on other sites. And if not that, please, well, actually, if you don't support Reverb, which I'd love you to do, then that other feature.
Yeah.
So I'm asking, and I know a few people trying to twist their arms and stuff, but they've got a lot going on. So
yeah. But if you guys don't know, you can put in request to list perfectly, and I think they work like an emergency room. Everybody gets their request answered eventually, but the most emergent happens first. And right now we're in beta testing, so there's a lot going on.
And then you said, what is my favorite thing to list?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, it's music equipment. I just really enjoy that because I have to test everything out. So that means I get to play with it. So it's like a toy for me. And actually that's why I've still retained toys from the attic, because you have to be kind of a rock guy, but Toys from the Attic is a play on words from Toys in the Attic by Aerosmith, which is an album they had. And so there's a little bit of resemblance to what I do, which is selling used and old music production gear. But it doesn't immediately tell you that. And back when I designed this and when I designed the store, I used primary colors because it was all about toys. And so I've got an internal struggle right now going on saying, do I need to rebrand so that people know, what I sell? But then again, I sell the majority is what I sell anything. It's just the majority of it happens to be used music production gear. Will it always stay that way? Actually, I hate to admit it, but I'm 56 years old, and I'm pretty strong. But there's going to come a time pretty soon when I'm not going to want to be lifting 150-pound speakers anymore, and not because when a lot of times I'll use a wardrobe box to ship those. And I'll cover, I'll cover the bottom and cover the sides with that foam I was talking about. But I have to lift the speaker into the box and then populate it with foam, and that starts getting taxing on my back. So I might want to start moving towards smaller stuff, because when I go buy something from somebody, the best deals that I get are when I'm buying everything that they have, and you lose your ability to get a better deal when you start cherry picking. You say, oh, I won't take that heavy stuff, only all this small stuff. Then they, they're like, well, I got to get rid of this stuff,
Well, let me ask you a question real quick in regards to branding. When you sell on Facebook Marketplace, do you sell from your Brian Hargis Facebook, or do you have a business Facebook page?
So there's a story behind that. Oh gosh, because I've been using my wife's account.
Oh, okay.
Because I was using my personal account for the years and years. But something happened, and I must have canceled too many sales, and Facebook said, "Oh, this guy's a loser. We're going to stop giving him the ability to ship things." And so when that happened, I said, well, a lot of my sales were shipping. So I went over to my wife's account and started selling everything on her account. But I'm starting to think that maybe just using Facebook Marketplace as a local sales avenue and not worrying about shipping, or shipping when they ask me, hey, I noticed you don't have shipping on this. Would you ship this to New York? And I'll say, oh, sure, I will. A lot of times I'll give them a link to my eBay store, and Facebook's never punished me for that.
Yeah.
So, not yet, anyway.
Well, I asked because if you are going to be doing like a really big rebranding,
yep,
you're supposed to do the same thing on all the things. Like I'm flipping hippos everywhere. But if you're thinking in the near future, you might be thinking it's getting too hard for you to ship the big items. Everywhere but Facebook, you could be your new thing. And then Facebook, you could create a business page or a personality page. Instruments in the attic or the band in the garage or whatever you're going to be. And do that just locally. Because even when you're back, it's too bad to ship it. If you're doing it locally, you might still be able to do it.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, because I sell on Facebook, people will locally will find it, and they'll come out to the shop. So I don't have a retail location. This is a metal building behind my house is where I am right now, and that's
how trusting people in the South are. They don't watch true crime.
Right. It doesn't worry me. We're all packing here, so
Yeah.
So, but they come out and they usually when they buy something that they've come out for, they buy a couple of other things.
Yeah, because they see other stuff.
Yeah.
I
do some suggestive selling. Hey, you're going to need cables with that. I've got some cables right over here. How about strings for that guitar?
So the building, I want to talk about your building too a little bit. It's metal in Texas.
Well, actually, so we used to live in Trophy Club, Texas. And that was because it was like 3 miles from the financial services company that I worked at.
Mm-hmm.
But I was selling stuff, I had 2 full-time jobs, like I said. And so I was renting 2 10 by 25 storage units, and they were about 3 or 4 miles away. So at night I would have to, play with the kids, have dinner, and then go over to the storage unit and pack things up, and get home around 10. I mean, it was work. And so when we were in Trophy Club, we looked into building a building in the backyard because we had 1/3 of an acre, and our homeowners association wouldn't allow it.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, I'm spending $500 a month on these storage units. Why don't we move out further from where we live now and get some land and find, and hopefully find one with a building.
Mm-hmm.
And we were looking and looking, and they were all too expensive in my mind. And so I'd just about given it up. And then one day I said, you know what? I'm going to go look on Facebook again or realtor.com, whatever, and see if I can find a place. And I found the place we're at now. And it was an acre. It had a 20 by 40 building, but most of it was air conditioned and heated.
Mm-hmm.
And so I called my wife, Suzanne. I said, hey, Suze, this is the one. We found the one. Let's go see it. And we ended up buying it. And so, yeah, I've got, this is probably 20 by 30 that is heated. And then the front 10 feet of it is open to the elements. And then about year or two after moving here, I grew out of this space and I put another 40 feet on the end. And I did spray foam it so that it's not quite as hot and not quite as cold, but it's not air conditioned. I might do that later, but right now that's what we have.
I think you need to, because a lot of times when we're in listing parties, Brian's like, he wants to hang out. He wants to stay in the listing party, but he's like, man, it's too hot. I got to go. It's too hot out here.
Yeah. But this area is pretty nice usually. I might have some problems with my.
He's in front of a faux brick background. That's not his real room, folks.
Well, you can't even see it. Yeah.
No. But you're always like, I want to stay, but I'm hot. So funny.
Yeah, it gets it was it's usually about 100 to 105 here in the summer.
So when did you the second time leave the corporate world?
Well, so I was with that financial service company for 5 years, and that's when I got my MBA. I left for about 2-3 years. And then I closed down the business and I went back. And I was around 2000, 2001, I went back and I was there till 2020. In 2020, and I had no illusions. I know my sales were through the roof like everybody else's during COVID, but I had no illusions. I knew what sales were normally like, but I realized, you know what? I'm tired of reporting to somebody. I'm tired of managing people. I would just like to do this on my own, and I'd saved. So I retired in 2020, and now I just do this full time. And, so I went down from 2 to 1 full-time job.
So did you do any preparation in getting ready to go full time that you would think is good advice for other people that are thinking about it?
Well, I was thinking about, I was going to say, don't quit your day job until you're really ready. And make sure you have plenty of savings, because you just never know. We know what COVID sales were. They were through the roof. They were awesome.
It was the golden age of
Yeah.
reselling.
But in the last year or two, they've dropped dramatically. And so you've got to be able to weather those storms. And to do that, you've got to have savings. And so I would say, if you don't hate your job, stay at your job and do this on the side until you're ready and you think you're financially stable enough, or, you're retiring, and then you can do it as a supplemental income to fund those jaunts to Mexico and cruises and
the fun stuff,
listing party camps and things like that. So,
but that's really good advice. You probably already know that I'm a huge proponent of Dave Ramsey. Keith and I are debt free.
Awesome.
And so I always tell people, even if you can't get debt free, at least build up that 6 months to 1 year, not just an emergency fund like Ramsey teaches. That's important for everyone. But if you're going to quit your job and do this full time, sit down and figure out how much you need for your bills every month, plus your groceries, like what you need, not your wants, not your fun stuff, not the movies, not eating out, but how much money do you actually spend on your bills and your food and the things you have to have. And if it's $2,000 a month, you best be having $24,000 in the bank. Like I say, save up a year.
Yeah.
Because like Brian said, this is a feast or famine business. There's going to be times where you're making money hand over fist, and there's going to be times where you're breaking into the savings to pay your rent or your mortgage. So that's like really good advice. And then, it's good to try to get out of debt and pay some of your debt down anyway. Dave Ramsey has some good ideas. A lot of people don't like, oh, he's a Christian. No, take what you want, take what works for you, and leave the rest behind. You don't have to, even with my channel, when you watch me and how I teach and how I do things, take what makes sense for you and your life and utilize it and leave the rest behind.
We're debt free as well, except for our mortgage.
We're debt free except for rent, but we'll be inheriting a home, so we're just renting.
Nice. Well, we had this discussion in List Perfectly just the other day. Actually, it may have been yesterday morning, about paying off your home versus not. And actually, as long as you've got everything straight, one of the smartest things to do, if you've gotten a loan in the last 4 or 5 years or whatever, when rates were historically at lows for forever. It doesn't make sense to pay off your loan. Take that money that you would use to pay off your mortgage and put it in the stock market, because you can make so much more money in the stock market. It averages, about 8% over all those years. And actually this year, I don't know, we've seen close to 19-20% back.
We do CDs. So we have money in CDs that we have one every month. We have it set up. So every month of the year, one is coming to fruition. We take the money it made, which is usually about $600, and we put that into savings. And then we take the initial investment and reinvest it at the end. So one every month. It took a couple of years to build that up. And you have to have the savings to do it. You have to have the money. You have to have the willpower. But it's a way to, it's an income. So if we have a low sale month or something happens on eBay, I know I at least have $600 coming in from a CD, right? So
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, investment's great, but learn from somebody. I'm not going to give you financial advice because I can't even add 2 and 2 together. It's 5. But learn from somebody. I actually went to I have Bank of America and they're affiliated with Merrill. And we went and made an appointment and sat down with the guy that works for Merrill, and he showed us our options and he taught us how to do the CDs and he helped us set them up for like the first year. Don't just jump into the stock market.
Well, I mean, I was a stockbroker, although I didn't like the sales portion of it. I liked more operations. So I managed a team of people who opened new accounts and did all kinds of stuff like that for operations. Mm-hmm. So I was educated in that.
Yeah. But if you're not, get educated before you try. It's not a bad way to make money.
Yeah.
But
I have Fisher Investments managing my portfolio because those are people who are going to spend their whole life looking at stocks and determining what's good and what's not. And I don't have the time for that or the interest, frankly, to do that.
Pardon the pun. And if you do have Bank of America, Merrill is a free source that you can use. You can make appointments and talk to folks. But your priority should really be first trying to pay down some of your debt and then getting a savings account. You don't have to pay down all your debt, but if you're going to quit your job, you don't want 3 car payments and 2 credit cards and a vet bill from 10 years ago. So try to pay some of it down. There's easy ways to do it. Like I said, you can follow Dave Ramsey, but one of the easiest ways is sacrifice. Do you need a Starbucks coffee every day, or would you like to pay off a bill?
Yeah.
Because you can make coffee at home.
I'm very conservative when it comes to spending money. So
I was raised, my grandmother was the cheapest. Listen, we only got to go out to eat when she had coupons, right? And we'd go to Burger King. She called it a sandwich. A sandwich. And she said, we're going to go to Burger King. I got to buy 1, get 1, 2 free sandwich. But you can't get no Cokes. I got Cokes at home. That's what she would say. I got Cokes at home. Ain't nobody getting the Coke at the Burger King.
That sounds like when we first got married in 93, we had this, Suzanne and I had this agreement that we wouldn't spend $50 without telling the other, or, not asking, but, just say, I've got this. I want to spend $50 or $100 on. And it worked out really well for us. Now that's gone, but I don't buy anything for myself, really. I get all my shopping satisfaction by buying stuff I'm going to make money with, Yeah,
exactly. And I do buy stuff for myself, but about once a year, we go through our house with an eagle eye. If I haven't worn this in 6 months, if I'm tired of looking at this on the shelf, and we just take everything we're done with and we sell it.
I need to declutter myself.
Yeah, but we're very minimalistic people. I mean, and that's another thing about priorities. You always got to prioritize what's important to you. And whatever it is, that's okay. If you want to spend all your money on season tickets to football games, if you want to buy first edition Stephen King's, if you want to be Keith and play video games, whatever it is, traveling, fancy cars, fancy homes, everyone's priorities are different. Everyone's bills are different. And I always say nobody's wrong. Nobody's right and nobody's wrong because everybody's different.
Yeah.
I can sit still and read all weekend and be happy. Not everyone, and I don't like to go outside. Listen, the one time I went out on my deck, I got bit by a tick. I ended up in the hospital. Lyme disease.
Actually, I guess I like to go outside because I'm stuck here doing, my work all by myself because my wife, she helps. She cross posts a little bit, but she doesn't help a lot. So I'm here by myself, but list perfectly listing parties, those are my coworkers. And so I hang out with them a little bit, but I try to take packages. Like I could have people come out and pick up my packages every day. But it's my ability, it's my time to get out in the world, go work out, drop the packages off, and then come back home. And tomorrow, actually, I'm going out to a church and pick up a bunch of stuff that they want me to, to sell for them.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. That's a lot of fun. And when I'm buying stuff off of Facebook Marketplace, I do 100-mile, what is that? Radius, exactly. And I'll sometimes, if the deal's good enough, I'll drive that 100 miles each way.
Yeah.
And you got to be willing to do that if you really want to make some good money.
I have package pickup. I do walk every day, except for in the winter when it's snowing. I have a treadmill, but we walk for an hour every day outside in the real world.
Yeah, right. We walk the dogs once a day.
That's our exercise because of my back issue, I'm limited to swimming and walking really for exercise. And I don't like water or outside. So we walk an hour a day. We go to his grandparents once a week for dinner and see his family. Sometimes we go out to dinner with
it works for you, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I do these and I do listening parties. So it's enough for me. But everyone's different. Like there's people that can't be in their house for long. I've had friends that would go somewhere and come home and put the groceries away and 10 minutes later be like, you know what? I feel like going here. And they'll leave and they'll come back and then they leave and they come back. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's anxiety. But they're like, how do you sit in your house for a whole week and never leave? Because I'm happy here. My things are here. My hamster is here.
Well, are you going to wait for Dune to come on to one of the streaming things, or are you going to go see Dune 2?
I haven't even seen the first one.
Oh, you didn't see Dune? Oh,
that's not my genre. That's not my cup of tea.
Well, I saw Dune 2 last night, and
was it good?
I liked it. It's a very complex movie, though.
Mm-hmm.
You have to really watch it with okay, what does that mean? What does that mean? So, because I didn't
ever
read the
have
books.
like both available together on one streaming service, we'll probably take like an afternoon on one of our days off and watch them both. But
that's just two. That's two of who knows how many movies.
Yeah, I mean, we've done the Lord of the Rings marathon once a year, every year.
Yeah, that's great.
Like Keith likes like Lord of the Rings, Star Wars. I love Star Wars.
Yeah.
And I like horror movies and I like reading, but Jennifer, our friend Jennifer, she loves apocalyptic stuff. So she's been going crazy about Dune.
Yeah. Well, it was great. And, what did I pay? It was, I don't know, was $17 a ticket. And then, of course, the $13
soda
and
the $80 popcorn. Yeah, when we go to the movies, we're actually really frugal too. We have two different theaters here that have, well, they used to be $5, but everything went up, so it's $6.50 for a matinee. And then we'll go out to lunch and then go see the movie, so we're not tempted to buy popcorn and soda. So we'll go somewhere nice for lunch, and then we'll go see a matinee, and then that's our day out.
Yeah.
I think
good. You do get out to see those. Okay.
Yeah, we go to we went for Saw, obviously. We went for John Wick. We go for all the Marvel movies. Those are his favorites, the Marvel movies.
Right.
And there's something coming out. Oh, in August, Deadpool.
Oh, yes, Deadpool 3, right?
Yes.
I love it. Deadpool's been awesome. I hope they can keep it going.
Oh, Ryan Reynolds was born to play that part. He is so good in that part.
Well, I love him. I really do. It's almost like he plays himself all the time.
Well, in the remake of the Amityville Horror, he shows some real.
I didn't know he was in that. I haven't seen that.
Yeah, so it's the remake. He plays the main character, and he's got some acting chops. Oh, there's like scenes where he's becoming possessed and he's yelling and he's evil and you're like, Ryan Reynolds can act. Woo! He's not just sarcastic and cute all the time.
Yeah, because wasn't he in Free Guy?
Yes,
he was. I mean, he was the same guy in that. There was one about where he went back in time and met himself.
Mm-hmm. Seen it.
And that was almost the same.
But the Spirited movie where he sings and dances, completely different.
Haven't
Completely
seen that.
different. Some range in that movie. He's really good. He can sing and he does dance. He's in a movie called The Voices where he plays a psychopathic serial killer, but he doesn't realize that he is. Really good.
All right. Well, I'll have to check out his catalog.
Yes, he's one of my favorites. Like, he's not hard to look at all, but I also like his acting ability too. He's got a pretty wife too. And they're funny. If
Who's
you're
he
not
married to?
Blake Lively,
Oh,
right?
that's right. Yeah.
And these two troll each other
she's
on
hot.
social media. She is hot. They're both hot. They're both nice looking people.
Yeah.
But they troll each other on social media. They're so funny. So, and you know, like he's got like that whole bromance with Hugh Jackman and they tease each other too. But Blake will put like a picture where Ryan's half cut with just a big Hugh Jackman and she'll be like, happy birthday to the man of my life and the love of my life. And they try to catch each other like making weird face. They just troll each other. You Google the two of them on and Google them like trolling each other. You can go down a whole rabbit hole. They're like just always being mean to each other, but funnily, if I guess is what I'm trying to say. All right, so we talked about movies too. You know what? Hardly anybody in the reselling world likes the kind of movies I like. There's so many people that love to read. You've been in listing parties where we get going and we're like talking about our books, but hardly anybody's a nerd. And it's weird because you would think there'd be more nerds that resell that like Marvel movies and
yeah. There's sometimes it's a little bit older crowd in the listing parties anyway.
And those would be the people you would think because people are, well, you're a little bit older than me.
A little bit.
You're
like a lot.
You just said you're what, 58?
56.
56. I'll be 46 in May.
Yeah.
But we like grew up on that stuff. Like I grew up reading Batman comics and wanting to be Wonder Woman and Princess Leia.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna wrap this up with the last 3 questions that I ask everybody that comes on here.
All right.
Get it. So sometimes we get a bad rap as resellers. People say, you know, we're sleazy, we're horrible people, we steal from the poor. What's your take on that?
Couldn't be further from the truth. And actually, if you look at the work I do with churches, if you look at my feedback on eBay, if you look at, if you talk to any of the people that I deal with, both when I'm buying and when I'm selling, you know, you'd find out that we're good people. We're not taking anything that anybody would buy, I don't think. I think that it would be a great way for anybody who is poor, let's call it. It'd be a great way for them to get out of that situation if they would learn what we do. And we're certainly not taking anything. Actually, most of the resale locations, and again, I don't really go to those that much, but they have more stuff than they can get rid of.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're actually keeping them in business by buying their stuff. You know, actually, I had a friend of mine who ran a resale shop in, Whitesboro or something like that. He just recently moved to Ennis, and I went to his shop, and I mean, he was drowning. He was getting so many donations that he was, you know, he was praying for people like myself to come and buy stuff from him. Just not because he needed the money. It's just that he had so much stuff he needed to get rid of because people are so generous to give away their clothing and other things. So no, I would not say that we're that way at all. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't people who are a bit sleazy and things like that, but that's in every
that's
career.
What I would say. In any group of people or community of people, you're going to have bad people.
Right.
It just is. You're going to have good. I mean, there's even like reverends that have been proven to be stealing from the church.
Oh.
Most Christians are good people, but some aren't dishonest. I mean, you have serial killer nurses. Most nurses are good people that went into the field because they want to take care of folks. But I mean, with every walk of life, you're going to have the good and the bad. It's just what it is.
Yeah, I mean, they're asked to kill somebody, you know, as an act of mercy one time, and they find that they really like it, and so they start killing people all over the place. I'm just kidding.
What are you going to do? What are you going to do when you find a new hobby?
Hey.
All right. So you hear me talk about this all the time on here, guys, about how work-life balance is so important for your mental health mostly, but for the people in your life. If you're constantly working, you have no time for anybody else, and you're not good mentally. And when you're not good mentally, you're not good to your family, your pets, but you also can't fiddle fart around all the time. You got to find that balance. So, Brian, what do you do for fun?
Well, I want to, you know, like I've still got that plane that my son, he learned, and actually at the end of this month, he's got his commercial exam, and
Cool.
and if he passes that, he can start earning money as a pilot. And I'm sure he will. He's a very, very good pilot. And after that, he's going to learn get his CFI, his certified flight instructor status.
Mm-hmm.
And because I've spent so much money on that, he's going to have to teach me for free. So that's going to be one of my major hobbies. The other thing that I like to do now, it's work related. So, you know, I tell people a lot of times, do as I say, not as I do.
Mm-hmm.
But I enjoy what I do so much that it's not like working. But a lot of times we'll do travel, and I call them inventory gathering trips. So we'll go from here, the Dallas-Fort Worth area, up through Arkansas and Tennessee, go see my mother in Knoxville, go up to some of our old friends, sometimes in the Cincinnati area, sometimes upstate New York. And then we'll come back down all the way, all the while pulling a trailer and gathering inventory, you know, and then we'll come home and sort it all out, clean it, and get it up for listing. So that, and that's just a vacation that's 100% write-offable.
Mm-hmm.
That's a technical term.
Write-offable is absolutely correct.
Exactly.
You guys can look it up.
But and so I, you know, and of course going out to Arizona for the listing party camp was also an expense for the business.
But it was fun.
So I can pretty much do my vacations while working and love it.
And you watch movies.
I do. Well, of course, I get up relatively early, do my mastermind call with listing party, then go work out, and then I'll work for the majority of the day, and then I'll call it quits about 5 o'clock or before, have dinner, and we'll watch some movies or watch our latest show, whatever we're watching. I may come in here and list a few more if I haven't gotten 10 to 15 items done for the day. And then get in bed by 10:30. I'm not a wild partier anymore. So.
What time do you get up?
6, 5, 6, you know, something like that.
And what show are you watching right now?
I'm trying to think because I watched Dune last night at the movie theater. So what are we watching right now? Oh, I'm trying to watch The Stand, the series. My wife doesn't like that. She I'm sorry, Star, she will not get along with you. She can't watch anything horror.
We met in person.
But she can't watch horror or anything suspenseful.
We just couldn't hang out.
Right, exactly. So
she's really nice, guys.
I like all the Paramount, you know, all the prequels to was it Montana or no, I can't remember.
Yellowstone?
Yes. Yellowstone I liked it at first, but it really became a soap opera. But all the prequels to Yellowstone, where they were telling a story,
Yeah.
they were awesome.
We're
And
currently redoing Doctor Who.
I'm thinking about seeing Breaking Bad for the third time.
That's a good one too.
I love that.
But we're doing this the proper way this time. So we found a website for the whole entire Whoverse, because there's Doctor Who and there's Torchwood and there's the Chronicles of Sarah Jane. And so it has you like watching a couple from each show and going back and forth on a timeline. It's really fun. But we have to check our. Go ahead.
Who's your favorite Doctor Who? My daughter was a real big Doctor Who fan, and she liked. Who's the guy that?
I want to say mine.
He was Loki. No, he wasn't Loki.
No.
He was in that movie on
Morbius.
No, shoot. Who's been Doctor Who? Who's your favorite?
My favorite's David Tennant. Number 10.
No.
There's Matt Smith.
This would be the guy who was in the Imagination Game or something like that.
I think that's Matt Smith.
Oh, okay. That was
kind of like a goofy looking.
Yes.
Yeah, no.
That was my daughter's favorite, I think. But
mine is Tennant. He's got some range. You want to talk about an actor with range? He was in the Jessica Jones Marvel TV series as the villain.
Yeah.
And a horrible, like rated R adult show villain. And amazing. He also played a serial killer, a cannibalistic serial killer. And he played Doctor Who. And then he was a demon in it's a Neil Gaiman TV show.
Was it also a series of books?
Yeah, and it's really cute. Hey Google, what show was David Tennant a demon in?
Here are some details.
Good Omens.
Okay. I haven't seen that.
Oh, that's cute. Your wife would probably like that one. There's an angel and a demon and they're best friends and they live on Earth.
Okay. I'll have to.
The angel runs a bookshop.
Good Omens. It's a series then. Okay.
Yeah, there's 2 seasons out right now. There's going to be 3.
All right. We'll try it out maybe.
Yeah. So The Stand is really good. You're going to enjoy that.
Well, I do. It's just I have to sneak it in, and because she doesn't want to watch it. Occasionally she'll let me have the first hour and then it's whatever she wants to watch after that. So
yeah, we're always watching a show together and we'll watch one episode each night after dinner together. That's like our thing.
Yeah.
And then typically after that, he plays his video games and I read my books and we just sit next to each other on the couch in our own little world and we're perfectly happy. There are some video games that I do like to play with him that I will play with him now.
Well, we've been married 31 years and it's all about compromise.
It is. It's all about doing things together and then doing things on your own. Yeah. We've known each other for almost 20, but we've only been together 10, but we were best friends first. I think that helps too.
Yeah.
You gotta be friends. You can't just be married. You gotta be friends. Your person you're with should be your ride or die.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, he's my person. And, we go on our walks every day. We try to treat that as like our business meeting, like goals and what we're doing that week and stuff. But usually about halfway through the walk, we're done with the business meeting. So he gets to hear about the books I'm reading. He gets story time.
I gotta admit, I wish Suzanne was more interested in the business, but it's just not her passion.
Yeah.
So she helps me with cross posting and as long as she does a little bit of that, that's fine.
Yeah. Just this is what we chose to do, both of us. I mean, actually he chose this and then I got hurt and I had no choice. So we built this into something we call ourselves life and business partners.
That's awesome.
Because we're nerds. Anyway, what you doing this weekend? Oh, wait, before you answer that, let me tell the chat something.
Yes.
If anybody is watching right now live, sorry, you can't play the game if you're watching the replay. But if you're watching right now and you don't currently use List Perfect, you're not a current user, you're curious, you want to try it out, I'm going to give away 1 month free. You can type in the chat #list perfectly. and then I will draw a winner at the end. So if you've never used it before, or if you're not a current user, like you can be a returning user, type this in and we'll pull a winner at the end.
Awesome.
Okay. And Brian, tell us what you're doing this weekend.
Well, like I said, Saturday morning, I'm going to pick up a load of equipment from a Christian academy down in Grapevine, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll probably be cleaning and preparing that for sale the rest of the day. And then I've got to work in some Mexican food sometime this weekend. Love it, love it, love it.
I have been craving it. Like, I would kill somebody for some Mexican food. And you know how hard it is to find good Mexican food up here.
Well, yeah. I tell you what, it's on every corner here, but I would probably love to eat Mexican food all the time and just occasionally eat regular food. But I couldn't afford it. But we are trying to learn how to cook more Mexican ourselves. But...
I was going to say, I cook it a lot.
Oh, nice.
I make a lot of Mexican food. And he's so funny because he was born and raised here. And I was, raised by Southerners, but in Arizona. So my grandma's best friend was a Mexican lady who taught me how to make tamales. And, I grew up on that food. I love it. I make it all the time. And Keith tells me he doesn't care because to him, it's just meat and tortillas presented in different ways. He's like, it's all the same. You're just presenting it differently.
Well, we were in Texas for, dozens of years. And then, and so we like Tex-Mex, which is different than Arizona. And then we moved to the Cincinnati area, northern Kentucky, just across the river from Cincinnati. And we were there for 9 years. But we found our favorite Mexican place there called Acapulco's in Florence, Kentucky. Awesome. Just, the big schooners of margaritas. And then they had some carnitas, which are awesome. And so we would eat that. And then when we came back to Texas, it took us a little while to get back into Tex-Mex, but we've got some really great places that we go to eat. And so, I've got to get that in this weekend. Oh,
I love it. I cook it here all the time. Some of my dishes are authentic. Some are Tex-Mex. Some are like American. I have like a copycat Crunch Wrap Supreme recipe I make. They're really good. We do eat a lot of Mexican here, like more than anything else. It's good.
Yeah.
But awesome. Keith's not wrong. It's tortillas and meat presented in different ways.
True. I don't know what else I'll do this weekend. Probably yard work, stuff like that. Probably nothing fancy, nothing exciting.
Somebody opening a beer over there?
Yes, my wife came in and she's just getting a Coke out of the fridge.
Coke. Tell her I said hi. All right. I didn't see anybody put anything in the chat, so I'll probably run a giveaway on Instagram. We'll see what I do this weekend. I'm going to be working tomorrow, and because we do Sunday, Monday off now, which we really are enjoying.
Yeah.
Being active on Saturday, I think, is better because more people are online shopping. So when I'm sharing the Posh Closet and sending offers and he's listing on eBay, I think it's beneficial because more people are online. And Sunday we're getting pizza with the grandparents.
Well, Susie, if you want to come in, you can come in and say
you want to come say hi?
She was messing with the
hi.
We that's the great thing about what we do. I know you got the schedule because that's what works for you, but for me, I don't have a day off because I take off whenever I want. Actually, I've been playing with going and spending an hour every day during the day to watch The Stand so that Suzanne doesn't have to watch it at night.
But you can do that. Like
I can.
Yeah, and we have our schedule, but like last Thursday, a new video game came out that he's been anticipating for like a year. And we knew ahead of time we're gonna end up playing hooky that day. So you just plan. You have scheduled listings and he took the day off after shipping to play his game.
Perfectly helps with those scheduled listings, right?
They sure do. I guess I should tell you, if you don't have List Perfectly and you weren't here to win a free month, you can get 30% off your first month with code FlippinHippos. Down below in the description box, I have a link to Ryan's Instagram. And what else did I put in there? Maybe your YouTube? Because you didn't have a link tree. You did not have a link tree, sir.
I know. I've got to work on that.
Sir. Do I need to hold the link tree List Perfectly party?
Yeah, I need to work on it.
So down below is Brian's YouTube, Brian's Instagram. Follow him, support him. And thanks for watching, everybody. You guys know I do appreciate you taking time out of your day. In our business, time is money. So it means a lot to me when you come spend time with me and my guests every Friday. Even if you're just watching the replay, you're still taking time to watch us. And so thank you so much. Brian, do you have any last words of wisdom?
Just thanks for having me. I really appreciate it, Star. This was awesome.
Those are not words of wisdom.
I know. Well, okay. You want some words of wisdom? Don't take any wooden nickels. The only thing that really matters is that it doesn't. And if you ain't wasted, today is. Okay. I'm just kidding about that one.
I'm like, I like that. It's Friday.
That's a former life of mine. But
thank you for coming on, Brian. I appreciate you coming and everyone watching. And I say this every week, but it's so important for me to say every week just to remind you guys, take time off this weekend, even if it's just to go for a walk with your dog, read a chapter of a book, watch one episode of The Stand. Take some time off to spend with your family, your friends, and your pets. And take care of your mental health, guys. It's important. I'll see you next time. Bye.
bye.
Bye, bye, bye. It takes a while, so I just wait.